Hello, everyone, and welcome to a episode of Munde. Now we know it's been a while, but we just had to do one today, and I'm just going to tell you right from the beginning as well. I've had some unexpected brawny guests come around, so if you see me just switch off my camera or my mute myself and run, please excuse me. But however, I had to come on today. We had to do one today because our next guest, he's a great person that we've got to know. Some of the teams we've got to know, but I think you all know who he is. You might not recognize him, but trust me, you'll all know who he is. So I'm just going to introduce yourselves. Jaber, welcome.
Hi. Hi, how are you guys? Thank you for having me here. It's a great pleasure. I've never done a podcast in English before, but hopefully it goes well.
Fantastic. I mean, we're really honored to have you. So thank you. Boys, the rest of you okay?
Yeah, all good, man. All good.
All good. Yeah, we're all positive now from the 4-2 win over Newport, but we'll get into that as well first.
I didn't know there was a game. I was out all day.
You know what? Nowadays it just feels like that, but like I said, we'll get into that as well. Jabba, what we always do when we get new guests on, we always love to understand their background, especially about how you become a Manchester United fan. So let me just ask you that question first and foremost. Yourself, how Manchester United, introduce where are you in the world, and then then how you come to follow Manchester United.
So, first of all, my name is Jaber. I'm from Qatar. Qatar is
I think we've got to know where Qatar is. A lot of people, if they didn't,
yeah.
a few months back, they do now.
A few sports events, and now it's well known. I support it. I'm 35 years old, and so in my generation, growing up close to football, United was dominating the football scene, and it's quite natural. It's quite normal, especially in our region, that United has a big fan base. So it was the team for me. I actually started supporting England before United, and it was in the World Cup '98. And after that, just things fall into place, and United was my team, and I saw a growing passion for football. I was very lucky that I watched the '99 final live, so it's quite quite a good timing. Like I witnessed great glories through the time with United and the successful era. So I'm one of those who can bear the last 10 years because I lived the great height of United.
No, brilliant. Yeah, so that '98 World Cup, as you mentioned, the David Beckham World Cup, I'd like to talk about it. You probably watched the Beckham documentary. That probably brought you a lot of memories, your early memories. So, no, a lot of people, have started following Manchester United because of that main reason. They were dominant back in those days, and they played some good football under Ferguson as well. But as you said, you're out in Doha, and your English is fantastic as well.
Thank you. That's quite, yeah.
No,
I'm
trust
working
me,
on it.
it's better than my Arabic. Just so I'll put it that way. But a little bit because I think you've also been in the US as well.
Yeah, I lived for 5 years in Ohio. So that scene from the Euro trip, where the Manchester United club from Ohio, if anyone recognize it, fits me very well. So I went to school there for 5 years. It was quite challenging because the timing, especially in the East Side, is challenging to watch the Premier League. I remember the Man City title season. I was there, and I remember as well. I had to wake up 6 a.m. to watch it, and something like that. It was too early, and But I don't remember missing a game actually during that time. I don't remember that. Maybe the only game I remember missing is that if you remember that season, we played. Was it Wigan or ever? We drew 2-2. Carrick scored. This game I had a lecture, so I didn't watch. So that's the only game I remember that I'm sure I missed it. And it was the time when we were ahead 8 points ahead of Cities, and then they caught us up.
Yeah, I think it was the next game. We was up against Everton as well.
It was Everton and Wigan.
I think we lose Wigan and then we drew to Everton? But
we
might have
drew
drawn.
we drew to
go.
Yeah. 2-2 and 4-4.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a crazy season. And sorry, I'm sorry. Just the last thing I was going to say. Um, what I love about like what you just talked about there, 6 o'clock in the morning. It's it's easy for us fans that are in the UK who kind of watch Manchester United. The latest we'll ever have a kickoff is 8 o'clock, and the earliest we'll ever have 8 o'clock in the evening. That is, and the earliest we'll ever have is around 12:30 in the afternoon. So we just get on with our day as normal and just fit the.
Yeah,
But yourselves, obviously being in Qatar, but even Wash was in the US and many other people around the globe, they literally have to change their sleeping pattern, their lifestyle, just to fit the
yeah,
games around Manchester United. And like you said, you weren't missing any games. But
yeah,
then you hear people who will call. I'm just going to say the likes of yourself because people like yourselves around the world that you're not real supporters of the club. You don't go to the games or anything like that. How does that make you feel when you hear those kind of things?
No, I think it comes from minority of the fans. I think Manchester United as an institute, as a club, always recognize international fans and always, I think United has the first the international fan base outside the UK. It was in Malta, I believe. So it's, I mean, fans are fans. I really, I'm not looking for any recognition from anyone. I follow the club because I love it. I love the team. I feel I belong to this certain club. That's why it really never bothers me. I'm not waiting for anything back or recognition for that. I just follow it because it is my passion. It is something that really give me this adrenaline and this emotional thrive from now and then. So yeah, I have no specific expectation from the community that's closer to the club. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, Jabber, if I can just ask a question as well.
Sure.
So you mentioned obviously your initial sort of inroad into football was through the England team, and then through that it became Manchester United.
Yeah.
I'm gonna assume the likes of David Beckham, Ryan, the class of '92 played a big part in that.
Actually, quite opposite. I supported England because I used to like Steve McManaman, who is not a United player.
Jabber,
Oh,
what have
wow.
you just? You're not allowed to
Yeah,
swear. This is the Brown
I
Monday.
know,
You're
I
not allowed
know,
to
I know,
swear.
I know, but I'm just saying it was like a big impact. But the thing is, for some reason I could never support Liverpool, even when I was a kid. My father is a Liverpool fan, but so I used to watch games with him. But it was never, I never felt that this is the team for me. And then also, as you said, that the United story, it's in the 90s. It was just beautiful. It was just like a rebellion team that comes from with the youngsters and ambitious manager, and it was just beautiful. It's just like a combination of everything. And then there is something about the devil, and there's something about the Red Devils, and you cannot explain it to many people. I'm sure you guys understand it. It can't be put into words, but it's just something you feel. You know what I mean?
Ja-
Is there a one
I'm so
second?
sorry.
Go on.
Go on. It's the devil bit I was going to talk about, but go on if you got the question.
I was just going to ask. Obviously, you mentioned your father's a Liverpool supporter. As you were growing up, was there a lot of rivalry there, like on match days and things?
I'll say something that's a bit shocking. I really, I like, so I was about 9 years old when I started watching football, and I'm 35 now. I think until Sir Alex retired, I never understood what is the rivalry between United and Liverpool. It was never really big in my head. Like I would never think about. I know Anfield game has history, and I know Liverpool has this history with United, but I never felt it. Like growing up, because Liverpool drifted way off through the past 30 years. I mean, it was kind of hard to feel this rivalry. I always felt intimidated by Arsenal fans more because Arsenal were our competitors, and then Chelsea when Chelsea came back during that time, and it was quite an interesting conversation. Although not many Chelsea fans at the time, but the thing is, I understand the history with Liverpool. I understand everything, but it wasn't as fun as a rivalry because we were dominating. Like literally, we were winning title after title after title. I know people who literally watched 13 titles being won for United. Maybe I wasn't as fortunate. I was maybe 8 or 9, but that's the thing. It was very hard at that time to feel that rivalry. Maybe the case is different with Liverpool fans right now because it's kind of revenge. They're taking revenge on us, but it's they feel that they are really recovering from those years. But for us who were born in the 80s and who never watched Liverpool being that great team that people talk about, and coming to especially the new modern Premier League in '92, it's just different.
Yeah, no,
I'm feeling it now though. I'm feeling it a lot more now.
I agree with you on that respect in terms of the rivalry with Liverpool because again I started watching Manchester United when I was 9, 8, 9, so that would have been around 89, 90, and it's only when I went to I think it'd been about to 5 or 6 away games to Liverpool at Anfield. That's when you feel, against Manchester United. That's when you feel the rivalry. When you hear their fans, the way they swear at our players and the way they go at our fans when we're there.
Yeah.
That's when you can really feel the rivalry, the hatred, and then you get to understand it. But sorry, just going back on the devil again, bringing a bit of culture and religion in here. uh, I'm Sikh, so the devil to me doesn't really mean much. But what I've always understood from people when you're Muslims, the devil is is obviously is a devil. They don't they take. But you said even the devils and the red devil, you kind of attracted to that. Can you just clear that myth? I think we might have discussed this before because I know Yusuf or one of our other brother from Middle East, he said he was attracted to Manchester United just pure by the badge and the devils on that badge. I mean, is there anything really? Yeah,
Yeah,
even sometimes I think even you boys have Aki, as well. You sometimes see tweets and they
Yeah.
call you haram or whatever, and
yeah,
what's it like? And you're from because the other thing as well. Again, when we talk about Qatar, and we'll definitely talk about it when we talk about Sheikh Jassim coming and buying the club. They'd have to change the badge because it's got the devil on there and all these kind of things. So
nah. I think we have enough maturity to understand it's a symbol, and just a sinister symbol to have the devil there. It's not. It's just I try to keep religion out of my entertainment life or football life.
of
It's just
course,
two
yeah.
separate things. I don't look at it like we're supporting the devil. I think it comes from when we say United as the Red Devils. It's just about the team
That's
and
just the
attitude.
name of it, yeah. The
Yeah,
Red Devils.
yeah,
It's not the
yeah,
literal devils there or anything of
yeah.
that nature. Yeah, yeah,
Even in Doha, we have a club that wears red, and they used to be called the Red Devils, and
yeah.
that
Oh,
was a
okay,
thing.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Boys, I mean, look, I'm just gonna start having the questions here because I think, like I says,
I think
men. Go
I
on.
think the one question I wanted to ask was growing up being a United fan, Jabber, who was your your favorite player growing up? When it comes to United itself.
I would say like three players that I love unconditionally. Like there's nothing I can change, and it's there. I would say Ryan Giggs definitely. He's my, like, I never criticized him. I always liked him from day one to the last day, even when he was not giving at his peak because of age. But I always felt like this guy is everything what United is about. And then I think and then my favorite player, the two other players are not too old. I didn't spend as much years as Ryan Giggsy in the club. I love Michael Carrick. I just always believe that Michael Carrick is one of the missing pieces in United currently. When he came, he was just completing the puzzle for United. It was just an important player that we never see in England as much. Even that you can see that he's not as appreciated in England with his England caps.
Yeah.
And then the last players that there's no way anyone can explain it into. I just love Robin van Persie. I just love him. Like he's a transfer that I really didn't want to happen. I was always thinking, United have to find their own stars or whatever. And then when he comes to you just fall in love. It was just love differently. I know those are three players that I put on top of my list for no certain
Yeah.
reasons. Like Giggsy is represent with United. Carrick is because I like his style of play. Van Persie has just happened. Like it's love. I mean, as I said, I was against the transfer. I was always feeling that, oh, maybe we need to go get a young player, but and he's an Arsenal player out of everything. But the thing after first season, like everything changed.
No, I think a lot of people can relate to you in terms of that. Jaber, like I said at the beginning of the show, I think a lot of people will know you but won't know you, and things are like that nature there. Just moving it on a bit to today's kind of thing. Um, Obviously, you was there in Qatar, in Doha, and the World Cup and things of that nature. I just want to talk about that to begin with. How was that? I mean, like you said, you've been, you're 35 now. You've been to the US, so you've seen a lot of sports and things of that nature. Did you ever think the World Cup was ever going to come to the Middle East, and then especially to
Uh,
your doorstep?
I never knew, and I didn't understand why it should. Like even when we won the bid in 2012, like Qatar is a small country. You have to understand it's a very small country with a small population. So everything happens. There is a celebration for it. Everybody talks about it, and in Qatar, everyone knows everyone. Like literally, there is no three Qataris that you cannot find a connection between them. It's that small. And but the thing is, when we won it, I didn't understand why is it a big deal, why people are talking about it's a football tournament. Yes, we all love football, but it's gonna I didn't get it. And even up to through the build up to it, I also saw how the country was changing, everything is being changed. And here I start noticing stuff, and then after the World Cup, I can literally tell you that the Middle East at least deserved a World Cup. The impact this World Cup had. I'm not saying I'm giving any credit to Qatar only. I will say it's all the countries in the Middle East and even Asian country. I think we truly needed a World Cup that happened in within our region. Uh, if in every point I can talk differently. In every segment, the build up, I would say a country needed an accelerator to move the regulation of the country. I'm not saying about the country is rich, so they can build up the stadiums, the street, the infrastructure.
Well,
It
yeah,
can
they
be,
spent over $200 billion just
yeah.
on
I mean,
hosting the World
yeah,
Cup.
yeah, it can be built, but the thing is, how to regulate it with this speed. You needed a World Cup. You need a foreign to be under the microscope and just to make sure that you're intact with your morale. And I think this is what happened in Qatar. I mean, many regulation changed the way. I understand a lot of worker welfare, for example, is a huge topic for the World Cup. I think if you compare the worker welfare in Qatar before 6 years ago and today, I'm not taking 10, I'm taking 6 years ago and now it's a day and night. The way it changed, the rights, the everything, and that's important for a country. If we talk about the tournament itself, I think having a tournament within your culture is important because we're used to the Western culture to dominate football, and everything is being promoted within it. And I think people need to see that the Middle East is more than just the buildings and or just people either look at them as high buildings or desert and camels. But I think when they come here, that Qatar is pretty diverse. Like Qatar's population is around above 1 million, but the Qataris are maybe 300,000. So it's 30% Qataris. So when you come to Qatar, it's not only Qataris that you meet everyone, literally everyone. It's a quite diverse community. And I think the World Cup needed that. And I liked what came out of it. I think Qatar needed that as well, to be exposed to a real challenge, to perform their culture in the highest level.
Yeah, it's because it's interesting you say that because obviously, I think first and foremost, I think before the World Cup bid, you had heard a lot of like Saudi, around the globe. I'm talking about myself as well. I knew who Saudi were, Kuwait were, but you never really heard of Qatar.
Yeah,
Then when they won the bid, then you definitely heard, what was happening. But again, it was all negative.
yeah,
All the reports that were coming out from the Western media, especially, that's where we are. And I'll be honest with you, that was about 10, 12 years ago, I think, when they won the bid, something like that.
2012, yeah.
Yeah, and so, so you was like, oh God, Qatar and all these things you hear and things of that nature. And you get closer to the time and things are still going on. The BBC are not showing from here, our side, didn't show the opening or the closing of the World Cup, and that's usually one of the biggest things. But then when you watch the World Cup, you talk to the people who were actually at the World Cup. It was totally the opposite. I think it's something similar to what you just said. I think it is, for me anyway, and I think a lot of people will say it was the best World Cup ever, and pure entertainment on the field and things of that nature that happened. No, obviously, or very, very little. We heard it as no altercations off the pitch, outside, drunks or getting arrested, people, this, that. Everybody was gone there, come back unscathed. Everybody enjoyed themselves. But more importantly, a bit like what you're saying there, and it's great to hear this from you as well. It changed the people in Qatar as well. So, like you said, I think more of MBS when I talk about this here. Saudi, you see they're very in old culture, but MBS is really try to drag them and bring them to the new. But Qatar, the one thing I love about them, they do things without, how can I put it, singing or dancing and shouting about it. They just do it. And like they said, they don't need to prove anything to anybody. But people like yourself who are, a Qatari national, you have seen the benefits of that happening.
Yeah. I mean, the change we've seen in Qatar has been happening mid 90s, and there is a vision to open the country. And maybe you guys are blessed that you lived, like, especially those small Arab countries that's being developed at our lifetime. It's quite challenging because it's a lot of money being spent, and the economy growth exponentially, and this bring a lot of culture shock and a lot of bad habits that comes out of it unintentionally. It doesn't mean that those are bad people or whatever, but the growth that happened in Middle East. I'm not talking only about Qatar. Even you can scale that to Dubai, to Saudi, to anywhere. There is a lot of things that can happen because of that scale and exponential growth in economy. I mean, to have something like the World Cup, to at least have some monitoring on it. Like, you cannot do whatever you want just because you're on a time scale or just because you want to have it. You have to operate in a certain way and in a certain behavior. And as I said, it doesn't mean that you were a bad person. You were in a situation that you didn't know better. I mean, literally, it was. We are used to the way it was. I'm not saying. Now I understand that it was some stuff that were wrong, and it cannot be applied on a bigger scale because, again, the regulation that was in Doha, especially for worker welfare, it was designed to protect the local businesses on a smaller scale. Like, if you have 2,000 workers, 3,000 workers, but then imagine over one night you say, you know what, we'll have 1 million workers coming into Doha to work in project. 1 million. I mean, it's just a crazy scale and going exponentially up. And I think a World Cup was needed to make sure that this exponential doesn't come with a lot of backlash and a lot of negativity. Also, yes, and those regulating panels needed to happen in Doha. So it developed the regulation, not only the country and the infrastructure, also the law itself.
I think as well. Also, I think the fact that it's been so highlighted that it was so safe, the families felt secure there. A lot of high-profile football players have come out and said that they didn't feel any sort of sometimes when you go to these different types of countries, family might be at risk. I mean, we're hearing in the UK now a lot of Premier League football players, their houses are being burgled whilst they're playing football. So I think that was refreshing.
Tej, you're right. Sorry, just because even today, Wolves against West Brom, I think the West Brom captain asked the manager to substitute him because there was a fight happening within the fans, Wolves fans against Albion fans, and he felt his family was threatened whilst on the ground.
Yeah, it's sad to see. It's sad to see, and I think also as well. I think just touching up on it, that we will always, in my opinion as well, it was the best World Cup, and I think, wow, what a final! One of the best games I've ever watched in my life, to be honest with you. And the fact that Messi Messi did it the way he did it. And I've always been a Ronaldo guy, but obviously he left in a very bad way. So that's sort of like that relationship. But yeah, it was unbelievable. And if anything, I see firsthand when I talk to a lot of people, and the amount of people I speak to, they say, you know what, we want to go out there and work out there. We want to leave the UK. It is doom and gloom here. It's not great. And that's personally me as well, because everything just feels like, hang on a minute, are we just being portrayed? It almost felt like the British media were looking for reasons to discriminate or talk bad about it, but they couldn't find anything.
Yeah. But look, in Doha, it's normally, I would say, especially Doha, but all Middle East, especially Gulf countries, are quite safe. I don't lock my car. I park outside. I don't lock my car. My keys are always inside.
If you hear Tej comes, yeah, then do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't
But
imagine living like that.
it's quite safe. Like,
No, but I've also heard as well, like kids could go to the park like you can leave your kids in the park and like whilst you're sat there, there's no worries about them playing and stuff like that. It's like
I would say yes.
Yeah, which is nice and refreshing to hear. And yeah, but no, I definitely agree with Harps. It was definitely the best World Cup I'd ever seen, and yeah.
And just moving on a little bit there. I mean, again, we've got PSG.
Before you do that, can I ask one quick question?
Of course you can. Of course you can.
So we talked about the impact football had on Qatar and obviously the World Cup and everything. Another big sporting event that is, I think, yearly at this point in Qatar is the Formula One. How do you feel? Has that made any sort of changes as well? Or like, because obviously that's, I don't know how long have they had the track now? About, has it been 6 years?
No, the track used to be for MotoGP. It hosted the Formula last year. It's been developed through the year to host this one. This year was the official one, I would say. It's quite renewed. I'm the wrong person to ask about Formula. I don't follow. I don't understand. Although I'll surprise you. I work for a company that sponsored the event. I am one of the people who goes and inspect the branding in the circuit itself. But I really have no. I don't even attend.
Jaber, now
That's
that we are friends, I'll come over. Please give me your tickets. Yeah, don't waste them.
Yeah.
I'll come over.
Definitely.
But it's I'm sorry. Yeah. So what I was asking, obviously, you got PSG who the Qataris owned it, and obviously we've heard all things about Man United as well, and we're going to touch upon that now as well. But the thing that made me laugh is that word sports washing. And it's almost opposite to what you've been saying, because people have the word sports washing as though Qatar has got to clean their image somehow to the world, or should I say Middle East, not just Qatar.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got the Abu Dhabi group in City as well, that they've got to try and clean their image to the world. But what you're actually saying is, well, actually, the World Cup was used to change what was happening in Qatar for the better. It's almost like there's a big brother's eyes on it, so we had to get things right. Because that's the thing that I always find funny when people talk about sports washing. I always think, well, that's the worst thing that can happen. Is if you've got the World Cup happening at Qatar, you got more eyes on Qatar. So if things go wrong, they got more things to go wrong. Whereas, like you just said, the whole point of it was to make changes, and it sounds like the word positive change is made. I mean, when you hear sports washing and all this kind of, how does it make you feel?
Yeah, look, I'm a quite realistic person. I understand what sport washing is. I believe it exists in some level within every country that tried. No, it's not only sport washing. Every country tried to have some entities that to brighten their image. I understand, but I would say this is my argument against this. How is PSG is really sport washing? I believe PSG is damaging. It's reputational damage. Literally, it's like it's really embarrassing what is happening in PSG, and especially that's been run by an authority that is a financial authority in Doha, Qatar Sport Authority. I feel what happened is with the chaotic behavior that's happening there, sport-wise, I would say. I don't think if that was sport washing, they're doing a bad job. I would say, of course, at the end, there's a question has to go out. Why would countries in the Middle East want to acquire a football club. We see it happen with Abu Dhabi. We see it happen with Saudi now, Newcastle. We see it with PSG. I think PSG, especially PSG and Abu Dhabi, Qatar and Abu Dhabi, they have multiple clubs. It's not only one. It comes on many levels. But I really don't get it. Like when you say sport washing, then the entity that you're buying has to give you a better image. When I see PSG and there's investment that goes PSG, everybody in Europe talking about it negatively. It's not about the thing itself. Man City with their
115 charges.
115 charges. If one of them goes wrong, that's a huge backlash on the City Group, and that's a thing. I think it's more business oriented. I don't think we can look at it directly as an input and profit, because I'm sure no one like to spend money and waste money this way. I'm sure there is a benefit that comes out of it. People look at it from differently. Maybe it's political deals. I have no idea. I cannot go into details with that. But what I can say, when I heard that the sport washing narrative, I wasn't really surprised. I understand that it has to come out, but I cannot fit it. If it was, then it didn't do a good job. Then whoever is planning this sport washing has to be fired because he's doing a bad job. But in the same circumstance, I understand as well that the English, especially English Premier League, they're so protective of their league and they want to keep it as competitive as possible with the same transparency between all the clubs and equal opportunity between the clubs. Of course, that cannot happen. I understand that people would be defensive when you say, well, X country or X trust fund will buy the biggest club in the country. Then it makes sense. It started. It's alarming a lot of people. So I understand that the backlash that came from the media, but I don't think it really played any role in deciding who wins the bid for United or any other club.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I don't know about you boys, Afsalaki. For me, I think a bit what like Ted said, it's brought Qatar onto the map and it's made me want to go there. With the World Cup and the things that we see now a bit more as well. Don't forget, Qatar is obviously even in the UK that they call mini Qatar in London because they own half of London. They own other things around the world as well. So if it was about sports washing, we didn't really hear about those deals as much. It's just for me, it's just diversifying their portfolio and obviously making us more aware what Qatar is as a country, so people can come and visit as well. As you said, it's all
Please
business.
make sure it is December to March, because other than that, it's gonna be quite an experience. It's really hot, really. After April, everything it's really hot.
We've seen pictures, haven't we, Aki Afzal, from Yusuf in Bahrain when he sends those pictures in like 50 degrees. It's like
yeah.
And it's at 10 o'clock at night.
So we're talking about the World Cup, obviously, back in November 2022. It kind of started. But something else quite poignant happened at that time as well. I think more for Manchester United fans. Well, I would say the global fan base of any football. The Glazers had announced they were looking for alternative investments and or looking to sell the club. Now, Jaber, I think there was one particular picture that was flying around that time. We wasn't quite understanding what was happening, how it was happening, but we saw a certain owner, one of the owners of Manchester United in Qatar. We saw a picture that he was there. Do you want to kind of expand on that one a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. First, let me explain something. I work closely with football in Doha. It's not my profession, but to my position in certain businesses, I work really close with a lot of sport investments in Doha. I can tell you, like, every day there is a club being offered to many sport authority here in Doha. Many, every day, every single day. I would say there is some owner flying in, trying to offer clubs. And I've heard many things many times about Liverpool, Tottenham. I've heard there are meetings with Levy happening during the World Cup. And that day, I remember I was in one of the hotels here in Doha in the cigar lounge, and I see an old man that I don't really like, Avram Glazer. He was,
Did he have
yeah,
a little bit of hair, then a ponytail
yeah,
wig? Did he like
Did you
amaze?
go for, give him a hug or anything?
yeah. It was, yeah.
Did he have a
And
pram with a dog in it?
no, he was
No.
walking around with the bodyguard, so no one actually came close to him. No one actually knew him. Me as a United fan, I know him very very well. So I tried to snap a picture just to show that he's in Doha. I knew at the time they were trying to sell the club. I wanted it to happen, but I didn't. It was a quite like it's too good to be true. Like, but yeah, I wanted it to happen, and then the news broke out that when Sheikh Jassim bid came to the table. But yeah, it was during the. I think it was a week after the World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to recap for everybody who's probably unsure, that I think, like I says, every single Manchester United fan would have seen this picture.
Yeah.
It's where Avram Glazer is sitting down. There's a picture from the behind, just to kind of prove where he was, and it was yourself who took that picture,
Yeah.
and you posted it. How, what was that like? That same picture being circulated around the world so many times, and especially from United.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm quite known in the Arabic football social media. I know I'm not the biggest account because I only tweet about the English football and only United. But overnight, I saw many like followers from everywhere just jumping, and I really I didn't know how to deal with it because I don't know how to explain to people. Like I tweet 50-50 English and Arabic, so most of my tweets are in Arabic, and it's actually not all about football. So I felt quite responsible at the moment that I have to keep it in English for quite some times. Uh, but I understand. As well. I didn't want to be the guy on the account that mislead people. Really, I didn't want to say, "Oh, I saw it and the deal is happening," or I didn't want to be that guy. I I really mentioned all the narrative that would it like it was in a hotel. It was after a week after the World Cup. This is what I saw. There's nothing else there's no other information at the time I had about the acquisition, about any bids coming out. But it's a quite a responsibility. Like when a lot of people looking for the fresh news, especially from one account, I think it's easy for some accounts to start spreading rumors or whatever, and especially when nothing was happening. With the United, everything is slow, so people were a bit bored. So I didn't want to just put anything there and just pretend that something happened or stretch it or make the most out of it or milk the news. You know what I mean? But so yeah, it was quite a tough responsibility at the time.
Yeah, I think we've been through something similar. I think one of the guys, Riz as well, he has quite close connections with some people who are part of the bid, and like yourself, just shared information because, like you said, we're all Manchester United fans, and I think we all want the Glazers out. So, like you said, you saw Qatar, Avram Glazer in Qatar, and like you said, you kind of hear these things happening all the time. So you thought, well, okay, yeah, he's probably here now to do a deal, and maybe one day, it's giving us hope. Because to me, when I saw that picture, I was hope. I was thinking, you know what? Oh yes, we could finally get rid of these Glazers. Whether it was Qatar, whether don't get me wrong, because obviously what I've got to know about Qatar and obviously a lot about other people as well, like you said, when you spend $200 billion on a World Cup, Qatar got the money. So they this is one chance that we had. Okay, they're gonna come and take the club and get rid of the Glazers finally. I think for the last 18 years, what's happened at this club because of them, that was one up. We was hoping for that. And like you said, you could easily grow on your account a lot more. You could have said a lot of more things, daily updates when there's no updates to happen. And that was something similar that we were doing as well. We stuck to our guns that was got that even when there was news about Sir Jim Ratcliffe coming through, we weren't posting at all. We was only posting literally when there was any news or if there was any news. But the way people then, especially with the deal that was announced by Manchester United and the 25% bid and all this business, we had a bit of a backlash on that. We don't mind. We kind of find it quite amusing at the end of the day because, like I said, we were just fans who shared the news. We stuck to our guns. That's what we was hearing, and we stuck to it. I mean, how was that for you? Like especially I suppose the Western side, but even the Middle East as well. What kind of response did you get to that, to the news happening?
No, I was quite transparent from beginning. Like whenever after the thing actually grew to an actual bid, like when we had a name to the bid, to the Qatar bid, because at the beginning we didn't know who was it. I was asking all my friends around Doha, like whoever works in sport investment, whoever is working in the Sport Investment Authority or Qatar Investment Authority. I was asking, but they kept it quite secret. No one had any information or anything. Then it came through Sheikh Jassim, and again, I have to explain that Sheikh Jassim is an independent investor. He's not representing anything in governmental in Doha. It was a private investment. Him and his father and his family has this sort of money, and he's he's an old United fan. Like he's been United fan, and it's quite known in Doha. People know that he is a United fan a long time ago. However, when this happened, of course, I start reaching to my connection in his office and people who worked with him and people who knows him, and start grabbing this information here and there. And for many times, I believe the bid was too close to happen. Really, it was, but then Sir Jim Ratcliffe as well had his strategy as well by compromising more in his bid, more and more until it made no sense, at least to compete with that. Yeah, again, Sheikh Jassim's goal and target was to have a full ownership of United. None of Qatari bids went over a different percentage than 100%. Sir Jim Ratcliffe had a different approach to it. He wanted different outcome, I think, from it. And he won the bet, and I quite knew that it's certainly him when actually one of my friends told me, who's close, that he was instructed to inform Romano that he has to write about it, and he told me that Romano will write about it this evening. And I remember I shared the information with some people on Twitter as well, and 5 minutes later, Romano was writing a tweet, and I knew at that time it was done. It was the only hope Qatar bid has or had at the time was for the deal to fall through. If it didn't happen, something went wrong, and then there's only one other bidder, which is Qatar. But at that time, I was quite sure that it's done. The compromise Sir Jim gave was enough for the Glazer to pursue them to go for this bid. It wasn't only about money; it was also about retaining some percentage of the club for them, I guess.
The question I have, Jaber, is where it said it's recently where they said the proof of funds. Now, I think when Ben Jacobs tweeted about the proof of funds, Sheikh Jassim's obviously wants to react to it. You tweeted as well saying that it's all lies, it's all false. Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, I mean, I checked on that with the people who worked on the bid. I checked on that. I can guarantee there was a proof of fund submitted, and it was actually from the highest, the biggest financial institution in the Middle East, as people say. It's a QNB, Qatar National Bank. Although Sheikh Jassim is the chairman of another bank in Doha, it's not QNB, but he used QNB because I believe it was quite a robust financial institution, that it had its value as well in the Western world. I think there was a this information, when it came out, it was just spinning or deflecting the news about Manchester United or the Glazer taking money out or whatever. It really didn't matter. You know what I mean? It was at that time. Really, if you told me X failed to prove a fund, but he lost the bid anyways. So there is no point of arguing against it. I think the only thing the Qatari team is trying to, and I would say, for reputation, it's not. we like it's not professional to go out. Even if you lose the bid, it's not professional for the other parties to say that, well, you failed because
to
not
basically
because
lie
you
about
chose.
it.
I
To
wouldn't say
lie
that.
about it.
I think it was misdocumented. Something was missing in the document, and they maximized it out of it. But I don't. I think if the Qatari fee of the Qatari fund bid was selected, I don't think this will come out. I think everything will go smoothly. It's just because they needed a story to just deflect on the stories that was happening around United at the time. Looking at right now, few weeks later, and no one is talking about it even.
So yeah, so for you, Jaber, and I think for us as well on this channel, like I said, it didn't really matter who it was and how it was, but we just
Yeah.
wanted 100% of them out, and obviously Sheikh Jassim, to me, this is what I mean. If I was also buying the club as well, I wouldn't have bought 25% in. I wanted the Glazers out,
Out. Yeah.
so I would 100% of the bid as well. But do you feel there's a point as well whereby, oh, because the way the SEC document read, it's almost like that we're going to go with Sheikh Jassim, but it just seemed like they was trying to always get more and more money out of Sheikh Jassim because obviously they know the
Mm.
wealth that the family have got, that they just kept
Covering,
seeing how much more they were getting. And don't forget, you've also got this this clause as well, by if somebody comes in with a bigger bid between now and Jim Ratcliffe
18
getting signed off.
months.
Is it
Yeah.
18 months or
Yeah.
whatever have you?
Yeah, so 18
That
months, yeah.
yeah. So does it feel to you that it's all about obviously the money for the Glazers, which we always knew it was, but they're just trying to get that bit more out, and Sheikh Jassim and the team just thought, well, hang on, you know what? Yes, we want the club, but we're not also going to keep for one, keep getting pants pulled down, as they say in English, just to get the club.
Yeah. I think again, as I said, it's the way you look at it from each of the bidder. I think each of the bidder looked at it differently.
Hmm.
The Sheikh Jassim was looking to use it as an asset, as a new asset that and buy the whole thing. I don't think Sir Jim Ratcliffe look at it differently. It was more about control. So even from day one, if you remember, it was 65, 67. He didn't want to buy the public shareholders as well. It was just he wanted the Glazer shares. It was more about control. And then until he reached an agreement that gives him control to the club. I don't think he was looking at it from only as well business or as an asset that he's investing on. To go in more details into that, I think with the information that is out, it's not enough. Then again, would you say why would someone spend $8 billion and $8 billion on an entity that's worth for example, it's $4 extra billion, literally. It's not easy money. Yeah, I mean,
This is the misconception a lot of people have. Sorry, Jaber, that well, why didn't you just spend an extra billion or an extra 2 billion?
Yeah, it's a lot of money. It's really it's crazy money. I'm telling you.
I think
But
it's easy to say that when it's not your own money, though.
When you've not seen those kind of sums and
yeah,
Yeah.
understand
yeah,
what it takes to make
yeah,
those kind of sums.
yeah. And if you, I know many people don't know Sheikh Jassim's father, Sheikh Hamid bin Jassim bin Jaber, and I know they don't follow, but we follow him closely because he used to be the prime minister in Doha at some point, and and I know surely that he's quite a smart businessman. He never rushes into anything. He never actually splashed the cash on random stuff as people expect or from a Middle Eastern investor. But he's actually one of those who made it quite a smart investment through the time, especially in France and out of sports, and
I
for
think he
quite some
quite built up
time.
the QIA fund, didn't he? I think he's been
Yeah,
quite big.
he was actually the like creating the general strategy for the country investment. So when United and I'm 100% sure, like many times I've heard of him in different occasions that he's not interested in football. Like
He
he's
said it
not.
himself in one of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
reports.
yeah,
Yeah, he said,
yeah.
"Look, I'm not interested. I didn't even want the World Cup, but for my sons, they want purchase Manchester United, invest in,
Yeah, yeah,
that's my view.
and even his son is quite a smart businessman. Like he's a and like I don't want to go over what he owns, whatever, in Doha.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the thing is, he's known for being, and that was one of the things I really got me excited when his name was attached to the bid. But because I know how he runs things, he's a bit slower. He's patient. He understands things. And again, my stand that I think United needs time and needs stability. So I thought he would be the perfect man, not drastic change, nothing really, just addressing each issue at a time and taking your time. And yeah, I thought, but again, I'm not saying I'm against Radcliffe right now. I really think he's doing first few steps. That is, I'm really impressed. But yeah, I mean, it was. I really wanted it to be Sheikh Jassim, but it didn't happen.
I'm going to say that's quite fair to be fair because I know
yeah.
I don't want Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and my viewpoint of this is, and like I said, fair, and thank you for your honesty there, Jaber, because obviously you are out in Qatar in Doha. It's almost, it's almost the way I see it, it's almost like your bid. Okay, it wasn't your money, but that is,
Yeah,
and for you saying what you said, that is fair play. But like I said, for me, is the way I view it is Sir Jim Ratcliffe allowed the Glazers to stay. Um,
you can't really. I know this is a thing that people keep saying. I know Mark Goldberg keeps saying that. Yeah,
I don't know what he says if I'm honest with you. I don't listen to him. So
yeah.
again,
But
second time you swore on this program,
uh,
Jabber.
yeah. But the thing is about it is, uh, I think it's his right as well. You, as a businessman, you have to do whatever you want to win it, to win something. I understand, and even when I look at Glazer, people keep going. I mean, myself, we keep going at Glazer, but we have to understand those are business people. At the end, their job is to make money of the asset they have. Uh, I truly believe United needed a shake in the operation way and on the operating manners. Like it was quite clear that people who the CEO, the decision makers in United were going out of their depth. Like nothing, they were doing zero. Every decision was just embarrassing, more than the other. And I think in some point we needed that to change more than just the ownership. I understand the new ownership will bring uh, maybe new stadium, maybe new opportunities, but I think as well, with a lot of money, a lot of like full change, sometimes things don't go well. And I think people should look into the positive with Jim Ratcliffe a bit as well. He's a businessman. He's a quite successful businessman. He knows how to run things. At least he approached everything methodically. So everything he does has to come with a method and methodology. And I think the way we see how he's approaching United is quite impressive. Like every decision so far is, of course, we cannot. It's been a few months, but I think we will see quite big changes, like with the new CEO coming on. And I don't want to overhype it. It's just at the end, it's a CEO. He's not going to score goals, but I think that United needed that change to just to remove the old gang from the administrative work. Just remove them, bring in new people, and see how it goes. I think he's doing the right job, but for now, with the limitation of budget, of course.
No, that's fair play. Like I said, yeah, if he's here now, we're gonna see how things go. Um, but look, yeah, like you said, let's try and if we can. I do find it difficult at the present moment in time, and a few do. But let's see, what changes it bring. I mean, Jabber, it's been fantastic having you here today. I mean, like I said, the insights, and I'm always more fascinated about the way people so far away get so attached to Manchester United. We know it's a global thing, but I always say if it wasn't for the likes of you guys, there would actually be no Manchester United as it is the way we see it today. You know,
And I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It's been really great. I mean, I like, as I told you, I said in
Spurs.
the text, yeah, that it is it is. It's always nice to communicate with the global fans of United. I think football is a quite amazing thing that brings people together, and
Yeah.
that's something I love about United. I met a lot of my, as you said, about Hamza, the guy we were about
I will start. Yeah.
talk to. Yeah, I only met him on Twitter through United conversation, and we talk on the phone quite regularly. Like, but that's a thing that's the thing.
No, fantastic. Like I said, thank you again for coming on. And like I says, without you guys, even the listeners, because we have a lot of listeners wide there. Thank you for coming on, sharing your experiences, and we'll definitely do more of these. So again, Jaber, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.